Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to kind of get on to some different topics here. Yeah, my name is Emily Hammond. I'm an IFBB Pro figure athlete. I've been training for about 10 years, competing for 7. And then I run my online coaching business. So I just coach all my clients online. I do a little bit of in person for a select few, but yeah, ever since COVID, I kind of transitioned over just to doing that, and it's taken off. So yeah.
I think COVID changed so much when it comes to fitness. Where was your head at with it? Was it kind of an uncomfortable thing? Was it like, wow, this is something to get used to? What was it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a big change for sure. I think it's not like not necessarily for everybody. I think some people really need that in-person connection and need someone who's gonna, kick their butts and put them through those workouts. And for me, I have a lot of clients that I really enjoy connecting with. We still will do the calls. We just make things a little bit different. And yeah, and I think that I rely a lot on them to make sure that they're pushing themselves, and they come to me, and we just have to keep the communication really open. And they're tracking all their weights and everything, and some people will track even their nutrition through the app. Yeah, it's just all a lot of communication, and obviously a lot of phone involvement, of course. But yeah, it's a different shift for sure. And I still, like I said, I still like to see some people in person, because I think that it's important. You kind of do miss a little bit of that hands-on kind of side of things and stuff. So yeah, it's different for sure.
Are you a personal trainer, online fitness coach, or gym owner on the verge of burnout? Are you wanting to grow your fitness business but can't add more hours to your hectic schedule? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today. How do you handle that as a coach, being like, I can help you online, but are you going to be someone who can, as you mentioned it there, someone who can kind of take a little bit more responsibility on, who can push themselves a little bit more? So how do you kind of like dig that out from a person? Because I think when someone's excited, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be, organized, and I'm going to be accountable. That's all like sounds good when you're first starting. But how do you kind of try to maybe dig it out? Like, are you actually going to be a good fit for online versus in person?
For sure. I think at the kind of initial stages, I will generally take on, like, most I don't really turn a lot of people away, that's for sure. And I think that it's up to me at first to really kind of connect with them and see how I can make it fit into their lifestyles and their work schedules, or their home life, or whatever it is that is kind of a barrier. I just kind of try and look and find these barriers, and break them down and help them really try to make something that's functional and works well for them. It's not necessarily always like giving them a program that I don't make, like, I don't program a lot of stuff that I necessarily do. Or it's more of like me taking a look at them and seeing, okay, let's break this down and let's make this work for you, and get you to the point that you want to go, and reach those goals. So
So very much kind of, as they say, meeting someone where they are.
yeah, yep, for sure, for sure. And then it's just about guiding them and coaching them, and like I said, communicating, because it's like they are. I'm also kind of take it on as like I'm teaching them. I want them to know why they're doing what they're doing, and not just like, here's the plan, do it. And that's when you find that people won't be able to adhere to it, because they're just like, why am I eating this, or why am I doing this workout, like I don't like it, or whatever. And then that's where you see people will fall off. Or if you see that somebody isn't really maybe seeing the results, that's when you gotta reconnect with them and say, okay, hey, like what's going on? Like, let's see what we can do. I really want you to succeed, and hopefully they're on the same page with that and want to see the results also.
So kind of going back in time a little bit to when you first got into the world of fitness, you mentioned about 10 years ago. Before that, was it sports or was it what really, I guess, led you into the path of just being physical in general?
So I honestly, I've been active pretty well my whole life. I have an older brother, so I always just like followed in his footsteps. He was always playing sports. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Everything he did, I wanted to do. I played hockey and soccer. Those were my two main ones, but I honestly like jumped in any sport I could like get into, like high school or whatever, like volleyball, basketball, stuff like that. But yeah, I played competitive hockey and soccer. And then I had some knee surgeries in high school. And I had one in like grade 10, and then a second one in grade 12, and then I had five more after that. So I've had seven total knee surgeries, and that's kind of what led me to bodybuilding.
Gotcha. So kind of go through that a little bit. Like, was there a fear at all of getting, you know, into this very, I guess really when you start getting into bodybuilding, you don't necessarily know what it's exactly going to be like, but did you have any reservations or fears of like, I don't want to have anything else happen?
No, because I don't know. I wouldn't say no right off the bat. I think I kind of just like started like rehabbing my knee, and that's how I really like I was just going to the gym because I was like, I can't practice, I can't play any sport. My surgeon told me after the seventh, he's like, you're done, like you're not gonna play a sport again, right? And I was really hard, like I just like took that and I was like, wow, like what am I gonna do? Like so I started, I was on my crutches going to the gym, like doing my physio. I started training my upper body. I was like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. And then I met some people. One of my best friends, Stephanie Worsfold. She was Canada's first IFBB pro as a female, and she has a local show here in London. And she's like, why don't you come and do my show? Like, and I was like, all right. So I kind of just started. That's how I started training. In 2016, I did my first show.
So seven surgeries. I mean, it seems like that would almost be like the definition of a bodybuilder right there. Like someone who has like all of these things happen, but still continues to be like, I want to do this. I want to do this. I mean, to this day, does that still like, is it crazy to think that like that injury is what pushed you to doing something that's even, this physical? It kind of seems kind of like a oxymoron, if you will. Like, most people are like, oh, I haven't even one after one surgery, after one kind of thing. It's like, oh man, I should probably take it easy now. To you,
yeah.
I got to go the complete opposite direction.
Well, it's kind of just like, I'm gonna take all these cans and turn them into cans, right? So I just like I learned kind of how I can train in a way that wasn't gonna affect my joints. And that's why I think really I turned to bodybuilding, because you can train your legs without like I don't need to throw three plates on my back and do some squats. Like I learned what I could do, and kind of just and the other thing, I guess, in the process of my recovery phase, I was always and I still deal with pain. Like honestly, it's like it's gonna be a lifelong kind of thing. But um, you have to get past that. Like you're gonna be in pain while you're training, after your training, maybe even a few days after your training. You have to know that that's gonna be a part. And I found as the more I built my legs, the less pain I was in. So I like you build the structure, like build the muscles around the joint to support it.
During prep, is it any worse? Just, I'm just thinking from like kind of being in that state. Does it feel any more um intense or any more often or anything like that?
Definitely. Yes, it's definitely I something I have to kind of watch and manage, because I think like my activity level is much higher in a prep. Like I for me, I usually end up having to do quite a bit of cardio. And that's usually the one that kind of gets to me. So I've like kind of worked with my coach this year. He was like no stair climber, and that was the first prep I ever did, like no stairs at all. I was like, oh my gosh, my legs aren't gonna come in, like kind of freaking out. He's like, no, just bike, elliptical, all like really low impact, And my legs looked probably even better, and my knees, I felt like 10 times probably less pain than it would have me smashing the stair climber.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, what we experiment with and what we find out when we're, given like that situation of what do I do now? And I was talking to Helly Trevino, and she was talking about, I can't remember what injury she had. She mentioned that she started swimming after that, and she was like, that completely, kind of changed up how I viewed things, like what, results maybe I was getting. Like, it was just crazy because it's not one you hear about, right? But it's like, what can I do in order to get this thing that I need to do in and get it done? And, bodybuilders, it just seems like they have like a different mentality when it comes to figuring a way to do something when plan A, B, and C don't work out. Are you a personal trainer who wants to scale and grow your business online? Have you been coaching online for years, yet don't know how to incorporate online into your current business model? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today.
For sure, I can definitely agree with that. And I think that, like, on the whole, it's like you always have to come back to like the real number one priority is your health and the longevity and your joints, and if you're compromised by that, like from your training, that's when you need to know yourself to take a step back. And I recognize that that's not really a normal person's mindset to be, after a surgery, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna keep training like this. Like, a lot of people, like you mentioned, would just kind of step away from that. And I think yeah, and I hope that, like, this could, maybe if anyone is listening who has these injuries, could be motivated to continue. And like, you have to push through a little bit of pain to see a result and get better.
You find different ways to achieve something, or you find different, even if you can't do the thing you did or you had a passion for, you find a
Yeah,
new kind of way to do it, or you find a new passion. I think just about not giving up, or about like, okay, if I am off for a year because of this thing, what other things can I focus on? Finding new areas to improve on.
for sure. I totally agree with that. And I think that you see that all the time. You see, and like, just people even stepping into the gym for the first time. It's like, it's not always easy for people to adjust to a new routine. And I know that's completely different from recovery, but it's like, yeah, you might go one day, and then the next week you might skip a few or whatever. But it's just, so for some people, it's not even about just like the physique aspect or whatever. It's just getting in there, moving your body, feeling good, and that's it, and that's okay. And like, or even just for your mental health's sake. So there's a lot of different reasons. I think that I see that the gym could fit into people's lives, or can be beneficial.
So when you first got into bodybuilding, what was your vision of it?
Honestly, when I did my first show, I was 18 years old. So I was just, I think, just taking my competitive drive and putting it into this place. And that's, I had no really expectation even how it was going to turn out. I just kind of was like, you know what, I'm going to train for this thing, and I'm going to do it and see what happens. And yeah, and I think after that, I did a powerlifting meet, and I did like a bench only because my knees were just like, I couldn't squat, I couldn't deadlift, right? And I was like, so I did that, and I thought, that was pretty cool, but stick to bodybuilding. A little bit safer for me given my injuries. But yeah, I think I just, it's just kind of taken me on this path, and I just keep following with it. So yeah.
What was your response to that first prep and that first show?
Think it's a big shift because you're going from something that you're competing for a number, or you're scoring a goal. Like, this is just completely based off of how you look. And I honestly, I think I was excited in a way, because I was always like wanting to kind of like learn how to change like my body. And like, I had, after the surgeries, like I had this little stick leg and then this normal leg, and I was like, okay, how can I make the stick leg look like the normal leg? So that was the first kind of like part that I started like spinning the wheels. And then and I always like I never knew how to eat. Like I didn't. So I think the whole diet was just probably the hardest and most challenging aspect of it. But I think it was really cool for me to just to see, okay, oh, so like what I eat can change how this looks, like, you know. So it just kind of turned almost like a little bit of an experiment. I just thought it was like kind of interesting, and then of course I was like dying low key because it's a lot of work, and I think I didn't had no expectation, but yeah.
Was the diet side at all challenging for you?
For sure, for sure. Probably, yeah, probably the biggest challenge, like, yeah, getting ready for like a game, I'd probably eat a big pasta bowl or something like that. And yeah, with bodybuilding, I think it was just a lot different, like eating so many times throughout the day, like like the protein, and I just like it was just such a learning curve. And I think even to my current preps, it's like yeah, it still is, and it's always an adjustment, you know, going from off season, and you have a lot of flexibility. And you know, going into a prep, like I think even this past prep I was like, my coach said, no, yeah, no more ketchup. I'm like, what? Like, what? Really, you're gonna do that to me? Like, so yeah, there's always things, but you know.
Was figure always kind of the thing, or was it like trying to figure it out at any point, or did was it just kind of that guidance of, hey, this is what your body would probably do best at, or how did that kind of choosing that go?
Yeah, so my first coach I ever had, his name was Gord Walker. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. But he was like he was my like just my guide through the entire process. Probably, and he helped coach me for my first two shows. And we were trying to figure out, you know, what category I fit into. And bikini was kind of off the like I was not gonna happen. He thinks that like I always had like kind of a more broad shoulders. So we were looking at figure, and then I actually did figure in women's physique in my second show, and my third show, and then I after winning, I my third show I won two overalls. There's like these huge trophies kind of behind me. I don't know if you can see them, but anyways, I won like figure and physique overall, and then I was like, okay, now I gotta pick like which one am I gonna go into. And then I kind of just like started looking at kind of like the pros and kind of seeing like, okay, like what do I like look more like what's more realistic or achievable for me. And I really like that the figure look. I still am like I love women's physique, and I think the posing is so much fun. You don't have to wear the heels too, so that was always like, okay, that's kind of cool. But yeah, so I don't know. I might, so I wouldn't shut it down in the future. It could be something that maybe I'd want to do, but for right now, I think figures is it for me. I think figure all about balance, like balanced upper body to lower body. That X frame, you know, small waist is kind of an interesting way to kind of like get yourself in the mindset when you're training to kind of sculpt that kind of look, right? And like you said, if you are an athlete and you could still continue playing your sport and probably compete as well, but maybe not with a diet. but um, but
Right.
yeah, I really do love the look, and it's really feminine and just kind of shows off that muscularity, and with conditioning as well. So
It's pretty cool how the journeys can be so different, but then the people will be up there and look very similar in regards to like obviously meeting the standards of that kind of that division.
absolutely agree. And Sid is an amazing example of that for sure. And she's been my number one inspiration even since the get go. So it's really cool to see that. I hope she keeps competing for a while because I love watching her every year at the Olympia. So it's cool to see the evolution is insane too. Like I talked to Stephanie too, and she's in her 50s now, and she says, you know, when I started competing, like it would like the fitness girls look completely different than what they do now, and just it's just amazing. So yeah, and in all sports, like you said. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
And with that evolution, because bodybuilding does continuously kind of evolve, or maybe shift is maybe even a better word, because sometimes, if you look over the different years, it's like this thing is more valued, or this look, or this, maybe getting a little bigger, then maybe going back to smaller and back to bigger. But with that being said, do you think about that at all? Do you think about like the evolution or the year to year or maybe 2 or 3 years down the road of like, what is it going to look like?
For sure, it definitely does. And I think for okay, for on a few notes, like the women's categories are because there is so many now, they have the wellness too, right? So that was a big change for us. But I think, yeah, figure, it's like the girls tend to, like, Sid has looked like she continues to get better every year, which is amazing. But yeah, it does definitely. I feel like it's not going to really push that like next level of like size wise, but it's just always interesting to see kind of what it comes to every year. And it's important to stay up and stay current with like the judges' feedback, and like Tyler Mannion, he's been posting a lot of kind of just like uh the reviews on each category, which I find fascinating. And you can kind of just tailor that to your own uh, physique, and it's always really important to get feedback from the judges that you step in front of. And yeah, and I think it's pretty cool to see that.
Yeah. Those videos are, it's so crazy. I'll be listening to it and then he'll be like, well, they're looking at this, this, and this. And then they turn and they look at this, 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 and this. And I'm like, those are like
Yeah,
a million things they're looking for in each person in like a matter of just a few seconds. How in the world?
and like pictures, videos, streams does never do it justice. And the other thing too I wanted to touch on too is I think that at the regional or local level, it's such a different scale. Like so you get these amateur athletes that are looking at these pros or the Olympians, and seeing like, okay, like how can I look like that? And then even the judging panel of those shows, they have to evaluate kind of like obviously to a different standard, but like to compare them to what the gold standard is, and try and judge these shows. So I've always found it interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of
Hmm.
cool. I never thought about it like that, but I guess really at the Olympia, you're comparing, you're looking at like what you would consider. I mean, of course, it sounds obvious now that I'm thinking about it, but
Yeah,
is the stand like whatever you choose, that is like what you think is a true representation of that division, which is, I've never, it's like I said, it sounds so obvious, but I've never really thought about it in that context before. Like that is
yeah,
what you're saying that people in a way, I guess everybody else should be striving for that look because you've said that they're number one. That's kind of
yeah,
interesting. I've never really thought about it like that.
yeah.
At what point really did you start to feel like, or maybe you didn't, maybe you're just kind of taking it as it comes, but did you feel like you had this opportunity or had like a maybe a real skill, a real talent, a real potential in the sport of bodybuilding to become a pro or to, move on to those next levels? At what point did you kind of feel that?
I would say my first nationals, after I did my first nationals, that's where I was kind of like, okay, like I think that like genetically, like especially with the figure category, it is very genetic, like having that natural like taper. Um, that's where I was kind of like, people were telling me like, oh, your shape is crazy, your shape is crazy. Like, so that I kept just like kind of hearing that. And then every time I talked to like the judges, and they were like, time, everyone was telling me that. So I always like was kind of like, okay, so like I gotta keep kind of working here. And like so that's where I kind of like knew like it's in me if I just keep going. So I just kind of kept checking boxes and just taking it one day at a time to kind of try and level up, really.
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout. Did you look in the mirror and go like, okay, it's been that time. Now I kind of feel like I am to that point to where I can be competitive here? Or, because I think a lot of times with the body, things can maybe move so slow that it's hard to see those in ourselves, especially. So for you, did you see that, or did it kind of just happen? Like, okay, I guess I am ready because the judges are saying I've won the show, or I'm here now.
I think I just was always like just relying on like listening to my coaches, and just always having that like kind of support. And I think even though even if I didn't place well, I think just having that community, and getting to know the people here, and especially Canada is it's a small, pretty close knit group up here. Yeah, and I think it was just like kind of like I said, coming from the sports background and not really having that, team aspect. That's where I kind of just like kind of started to feel more involved and like really wanted to just continue pushing, whether I was really doing like placing well or not. But I was always like I guess fortunate, or like I did place well, so it was always really encouraging to kind of keep going along my path.
It seems like it's kind of this moment of like you're finally reaching this certain point. You're reaching like this pinnacle of achievement that, so many people strive for, never get it. And you're like, okay, I got this. I've achieved this thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you also have this, or at least from what people say, this feeling of like, all right, I'm here now, but I'm also kind of like starting back over in a way. I'm back at zero because I'm at the bottom of this new pool that I've just got into. Um, or maybe not at the bottom, but near the bottom, certainly, when you first turning pro. So for you, how did you react to that? Or did that kind of cross your mind at all, or was it just like a feeling of, man, I'm glad I was here?
It was I think it was definitely quite a journey and a battle for me. I think like kind of going back a little bit, like 2020, I competed in the US. That was my first international show. I came in fourth place, so that was a good note. And then 2021, I did three nationals here in Canada. And in Canada, it's a lot harder to earn a pro card. I guess I shouldn't say harder, but it's a different process. I guess they only the first and overall winner of each show. So there's about four every year, whereas in some of the American shows, you can like just win your class, you get a pro card. So a little bit of different, and I could have obviously gone down there and done that too. But anyways, so I kind of kept like I came second in one in the fall, and then I did like that was like a September show, and then December I did Toronto, and I won my class, didn't win the overall. Went to Vancouver 2 weeks later, won my class, didn't get the overall. And then I was like, holy smokes. Like I did three nationals this year. I didn't get my pro card, but I kept winning my first place. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do Toronto in June. So that was 2022 last year. And I won my pro card, and it was just an amazing feeling. And I think I was just like just overwhelmed because I was like, it was just something that I had worked so hard for, like, and it was just like, wow, like it just incredible. And just to like look back and I've done now 11 shows, and just to go like, holy smokes, that's like what I took to get here. And then yeah, this year I did my first pro show, which was an incredible experience as well. And uh, I ended up coming fourth out of 23 girls. So I was like, I just like was just doing it to see how I stack up, get some feedback, and I was just blown away, really.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about that experience of, being amongst the pros, some people that you probably looked up to and kind of followed along with as well.
Like yeah, like nothing I've ever experienced before, for sure. It was really cool. I stood on stage with Nicole Zenobia Graham, and she is like has been an inspiration to me for the longest time. And like she came first, so I'm just like a few over from her, and I'm like doing this, like what? I'm up here. um, so that was yeah, it was incredible. And the backstage experience was really cool too. Like everyone was super cool, and for the most part, and nice, and like it was just a good energy. And I just was trying to just soak it all in and just enjoy it. And then also nerve-wracking for sure. But yeah, just a really cool experience.
And what were your main takeaways from that?
Like my feedback, I guess, was more so to come in like a more conditioned look. And I definitely can see that I am a lot younger than the girls that were placing ahead of me, probably by about to at least 10 to maybe even 15 years. So that kind of just shows like, that maturity, that muscle density. And these girls have just been lifting and training and doing this work for so long, and it shows for sure. But I just like in my head was kind of like, okay, like I held my own up there, like I can do this, like. So it was really just motivating, if anything, and like just yeah, amazing.
Now, moving into this next step of your bodybuilding career, are you emphasizing or looking to emphasize anything other than just like what you mentioned before, just that time aspect?
I think for sure, and I think it is a definitely a shift. Like I always like kind of did my own like off seasons, and I've never really I haven't had a coach for like an off season in a few years now. So this was actually my first show working with my new coach, and we started my prep in like July. So we're just had pretty fresh still, and getting to know what I respond well to, and I think that it honestly, I haven't eaten this much and stayed in like a good body composition ever. So I'm really happy with that. And I think just yeah, it's just a learning curve. Also, just learning to fuel, stay on top of things, stay on top of my recovery. I also take way more rest days than like I ever have. I have two. Well, I shouldn't say way more, but I have two a week, and like I would just honestly before just train until like I couldn't like and just because I love to. So I'm just like, why wouldn't I? I'm gonna go to the gym today, sure. Like, but yeah, so it is definitely a change, but it's good, and like I said, better for my health longevity for sure.
And I'm sure, having, just kind of going back to the knees, having the surgeries there, I'm sure that kind of amplifies your just kind of the way you look at it, because I think a lot of people get into bodybuilding and they maybe start to have some injuries. And I'm sure for you kind of have a little bit more of like this idea of like, okay, health is, we can go 150% today, or we can, go 100% every day and save ourselves. But yeah, great getting to chat with you. I really, really enjoyed our chat. I definitely some takeaways for me here today, and things to think about. I really appreciate you coming on.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on here. And yeah, I think that was a great chat. So I'm looking forward to listening.
Before we head out, if you want to share your social media or anything like that, you can do that.
You can find me on Instagram. I'm Emily Hammond, IFBB Pro. My website is emilyhammondfitness.com. And yeah.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.